You guys, I am so excited. I cannot wait to share with you my news. I know I've been absent for a couple weeks. I've had a lot going on, both positive and negative, and I'm getting ready to take my walk. But before I take my morning walk, I wanted to share with you what's been going on the last couple of days. Oh, I just feel like this is going to happen. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to get healthy. Oh my gosh, I am so happy. Okay. If you know, I told you in one of my first video that I had some medical issues. But I wasn't going to use those as an excuse for not being able to lose weight. Well, I'm going to share with you what those medical issues are, because that is what this whole video is about. First off, about when I was 18, so 33 years ago, I had major ovarian cysts. They erupted. I was always in pain. I was in the hospital a lot. I was in the military at the time. And, I'd be given pain medicine and sent home, and just kept going on and on again. Fast forward, I don't know, almost, let's see, I guess it was my mid-20s. No, it would have been later than that. I was out of the military by then. So I did 12 years in the military. So about when I was early 30s, I was out of the military, but I was still using military medical facilities because my husband was still in. He retired a few years after I separated. I started struggling with my weight in my mid-20s after my two kids. And I got out of the military after 12 years because I got tired of fighting the weight loss issue and the mental health, the failure of not being able to lose weight. So I had all the classic symptoms of PCOS, but it wasn't like a thing anybody talked about. And so back to when I was in my early 30s, I was reading a magazine, and there was a column, and it talked about PCOS, and it gave all the symptoms. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's what's wrong with me. That's like all my problems. Like I had like all the classic signs. I mean, I think I had almost every one of them. And so I went to the doctors, and again, it wasn't, this would have been like 21 years ago is when it was. It wasn't something that anybody knew about or talked about. And I went to the doctor. They did scans and tests, and they're like, yeah, this is what you have. I was struggling with infertility. I had struggled with infertility for 5 years. I guess 4 years at that point. And so I started seeing an infertility doctor as well. And they put me on metformin, which is diabetic medicine. But PCOS, I was also insulin resistant. So that helps. The metformin helps with all that. And then shortly after, my husband deployed. But in the process of all that, being a single mom, him being deployed, being on metformin, I worked out, I dieted, and I was able to lose 50 pounds, which my starting weight wasn't nearly as heavy as I am now. So that was still considered overweight, but I would love to be that weight again. And it's still in a good weight. And I lost 50 pounds, I felt good, but then I had our son, who's actually 19 years old today. So I had him, and then all the weight came back, and it just kept creeping up for the past 19 years to the heaviest weight that I am now. So in the process also, when I was in the military, I also had thyroid issues, and I was diagnosed with hypothyroidism. And through those 30, or I guess 25 years, I've been struggling with that, and I've been on medications off and on for that. I haven't been the numbers haven't been extremely bad, but they've been kind of like on the border, and they kind of fluctuate a little bit. And now that I'm 51, I'm going through perimenopause. So I've had all these hormone imbalances since I was 18 years old. And I've been struggling with my weight through the whole time. And what I realized a couple days ago is that I have only really seen military doctors and VA doctors. And with the exception of emergency care for, specialty doctors like for fertility, and when we lived in Greece for a couple years. And I started thinking, like, I was given, I had requested from my VA primary care some HRT, some hormone treatment for perimenopause. And they sent me some, and it just knocked me off my feet for 2 weeks. And I was like, I really need somebody that's going to monitor me and control my, monitor my blood and control my prescription. And if you're familiar with the VA or the medical or military medical, that's just not going to happen. Like for the VA, unless you really have them. And I've never really talked bad about the VA because I thought it was okay until I knew better. The VA, you go in for your annual appointment. You get your blood work 2 weeks before your appointment. You go into your PCM, 15, 30 minutes. You see them, you discuss your information, and then they send you medication. You see you next year, unless you need some kind of like x-rays or additional scans. But you're lucky if you get those. That's a whole, I need to do a video all on the VA system and all that. So back to a couple days ago, I was like, I really need to be monitored, and the VA is just not going to do it. So I started looking at our military medical, the TRICARE insurance. And because we live far enough away from the base, I could get community care, which is be transferred to a civilian doctor that they approve of, that's in their network. So I spent the day going through, I was going to look specifically for hormone treatment, but then I was like, you know what? I really want to talk to somebody, just a general doctor, and talk about like all my issues that they can monitor, that I can go to instead. So I did that. And I didn't have a high expectation. I thought, okay, I'm going to go in there 15 minutes. I got to be ready. I got to have my script ready. Like I go to the VA, everything I need to talk about so I don't forget it. And I did that. And she kept asking me questions. I provided my military, my VA records, my blood work from last year. And she listened to me. And she validated me, and she was surprised I wasn't still on medications for thyroid or PCOS. She felt my thyroid, and it's like, it's swollen. It seems swollen to me. You need to get that scanned. And she did. She sent in for a ton. I think I had 7 vials of blood, but like 2 pages of different things she wanted to check, and my blood work. So I took my blood work, fasting blood work yesterday for that, my cortisol, tons of hormonal different tests. So, and she also sent me for scans for my liver, which my blood was elevated last blood work, but VA never did anything about that. And then also for my thyroid. So I was sitting there in the doctor's office, and I got teary-eyed because I felt like, oh my gosh, this lady's like, she gets me. Like, she's not like, well, you need to go on a diet. You need to lose, you need to exercise. I mean, yeah, she did say those things, but not in the way that like, well, this will fix all your problems. She was like, do these things on top of everything else. I'm going to help you. Like, your hormones are so out of balance. You're just in this constant wheel. Like, we need to get your hormone balance. And then once your hormones are balanced, all the things that you're doing, which is I'm already doing, is, weightlifting, walking, and watching what I eat, then your weight will come off, And I got teary-eyed, and I was like, thank you for listening to me. Thank you. I actually finally feel hope. I felt hope. And that's the best way to describe it. I felt so hopeful leaving that office. When I was sitting there, I felt hopeful. When I left there, I just told my husband, I started crying when I got home. I was like, I feel like hopeful. I feel like this is it. Like, this is going to be my year. Like, I'm working on my mental health. You know, I'm trying not to cry, but I just can't explain. For the first time, I feel hope. And for over 25 years, I felt hopeless with my weight loss. You know, I've tried to stay positive. I've gone through so many different nutritionists and exercise and instructors and everything else. And I've tried to stay positive, but when you're constantly on this rat race and nothing changes, it kind of gets you down a lot sometimes. And man, I just can't tell you the world difference that made. Now, I'm not on any medications yet. She wants to, thank goodness, she wants to look at my blood work. I'm going back in 3 weeks, and then she should have the blood work and the scans by then, and then we're going to look at medications. I had been on reflux medications for many years, and that's not supposed to be a long-term thing. That have many long-term side effects. So she's working on getting me off of that. She did adjust that and gave me something else to kind of help balance that Thursday. We talked about GLP-1s. I'm not sure if we're going to go that route. I'm really scared of the side effects of that. But it works really, it's very helpful if you have PCOS and insulin resistance. Not just for just losing the weight, but just for balancing your hormones. So I'm open to it. For the first time, I'm open to it. I have thought about it just for weight loss, but I just, I don't want to, I was scared of that bandwagon. But I've done a lot of research for PCOS and GLP-1s, and Zepbound, I think is what it is, comes highly recommended for PCOS. So I'm considering that. And she's also most likely going to put me back on thyroid medicine. She pretty much said as much, but she wanted to get my numbers and do the scan. And then we're going to relook at HRT. And I don't know if I don't go on the GLP-1, she'll probably might put me back on metformin for PCOS possibly. But we'll see in 3 weeks how that goes. I'm very hopeful. I wish I could do it tomorrow. I wish all my scans and blood work could be back and I could get started. I'm very excited about that, but I've been this way for over 25 years. I can wait another 3 weeks. So we will see. We will see what happens. But this is my year. Like, this is my year. And I'm more hopeful than I've ever been that this is going to work. It makes a difference. If you're not getting anywhere with your current doctor, change. I'm amazed by the amount of help, by the difference that I've received. Feeling heard and feeling hopeful, and how helpful the doctor was. And if you're not getting the care you need, change doctors. Change doctors. So you deserve it. I deserve it. We all deserve to be balanced and taken care of. Sometimes I know diet's 80%, workout's 20%, but sometimes that doesn't work if your body is all jacked up. All right. I can't wait to share with you. Well, it's going to be a while till I share with you after what my medications and how that goes, but I can't wait to have you share this journey with me and follow along on my year.